Next we have Isdgit method. This method returns true if all the characters in the string are digits, otherwise it returns false. This method does not take any parameters. Let us see how it works with the string 14 as, for example, 150. So 150 is a digit, okay? All the characters are digits, so it results true. If I change this string with the alphabetic characters, along with the alphabetic characters like A, B, C, then we got an error because ABC is not a digital characters. ABC word substring is not an digital word, okay? 150 is the digital word, consists of only the digital characters or digits, but ABC, this substring is not the digital word, okay? That's why we got false. Here, and then if we apply this Isdgit method, then it results true. You can check with the converting this to 3 as 2 to the power of 3, and then check with the Isdgit method. It results true. Let us check with the dividing operator and see what happens. So it results false because this dividing operator is nothing but forward slash character, so it is not an digital character, hence it results false. And if we insert a space in between the two digits and see what happens, so space is also not a digit, so we got an error. This is how this Isdgit method works on strings. Next we have Isdentfier method. This Isdentfier method will identify whether the string is a valid identifier or not. This method returns the Boolean expression true if the string used is an valid identifier, otherwise false. It takes no arguments, but it results true only if the string used is an valid identifier, otherwise false. Let us check this on the string 15. Let us create an valid identifier as Python underscore for underscore engineers. So look at here, we have used underscore to create an identifier, so it is an valid identifier. But how to check this, whether it is an valid identifier or not, using Isdentifier. So we got true because it is an valid identifier, this string. We know how to create an valid identifier, the rules and other things in our previous lessons. But I would like to remind you once again here, the valid identifier should consist of alphanumeric characters and underscores. No space is allowed, and it should not begin with a number, and it should not begin with a space. Otherwise it won't become an valid identifier. For example, here Python for engineers, if I start with the number 2, for example here, and if I save and run this code, we got an error because identifier should not start with the number, whether it may be an integer or float, and valid identifier should not start with the space. So here I have introduced space to create an identifier. It is similar to like introducing space while creating an variable. So look at here, already it is showing an error. The control flow is showing an error, unexpected indent. So here I have introduced a blank space to create an variable. So variables are also nothing but an identifiers. So here I am introducing an space to create an identifier, and if I run this code, once again we got an error because it is not a valid identifier. And we cannot introduce spaces between the words or characters. So we got an error. If we use underscore instead of the space, then we got true because the valid identifier can start with underscore, and in between the words it should contain only underscores, no spaces and no dashes or no blank spaces. Okay. Means any white space. You can use numbers anywhere in the string but not at the beginning. For example, Python 3.10 version, like this. If we run this code, we got an error because we are using dot to create an identifier. Dot is not allowed. If I remove this dot and if I introduce underscore instead of dot to refer the Python version, Python 3.10. Okay, so we got true. So dot is not allowed. Let us see what happens if we use plus symbol. So plus, minus, no special characters are allowed other than underscore. This is how the Isdgit identifier works on string.